post-show for this every time I listen to it. I'm like, there's some stuff they missed I would like to talk about.
I love listening to that song. Like, you know, all loud in here and everything, you just like really feel it inside. But that's just, anyways, hi, this is Comics on Comics, coming to you live from the Hollywood Improv Lab, and I am here today with some great friends of mine. Down here we've got Spence Griffethand. At the age of 15, Spence was lucky enough to be kidnapped by Tony Stark. Tony Stark bravely manipulated Spence into putting his young life in jeopardy. Tony Stark wisely dismissed Spence when he dared suggest Tony put emergency parachutes in his suits. Now Spence spends his days waiting for Tony Stark at random elevators. Aww. And you're also a comedian and writer and all-around good guy. Spence.
Thank you.
Woo! Yay! Hi, Facebook.
Yes, hi, Facebook. Next we have Stefano Terry. He is an artist and a writer, currently working on the Halloween and Christmas issues of his superheroine comic book series, The Gamma Gals. He is torn on whether Captain America should have decapitated Tony Stark with a shield when he had the chance. Stefano.
Hello.
Next we have Christine HIPP. She is the keen creative mind behind the hit new webcomic Bounty Hunter Space Beasties, and an avid member of the Los Angeles Women's Comic Creators Group League. She writes, she draws, she crushes the patriarchy. You can find the comic at bountyhunterspacebeasties.com.
Besties. Space besties.
Oh, besties.
Like
oh, okay. All right. Well, I guess that's more. I guess that makes more sense than beasties.
That's like the fourth different way to get my title wrong that I've heard, actually.
Okay.
So I'm learning about naming things.
So, what else have people been calling your book?
Bounty Hunter Space Busties, Bounty Hunter Space Buddies, and I think one time I called it Bounty Hunter Space Bitches. But
Okay.
I like that one.
That one's fine. Well, you know, Space Beasties, I guess it's the compendium of all of the creatures that they were fighting for. Of course, that's how I'm going to justify that. And we have Ashley Rubin. She is a comic book writer who is known for her snarkiness, both in and out of the classroom. Her work includes Guerrero, whose origin story could be found in the Ladybug anthology, and Slugger, a one-shot to be published later this year. Ashley, hello.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Okay, guys, so
So I didn't understand what we were supposed to do.
that's fine.
I missed some part, but it's so far.
It's all right. So why don't you guys tell us about the Ladybug anthology? I know that it's the group that has come together. What, like in the last year or so? You guys got together?
Yeah, we had our birthday a month and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
We're basically a collective of women comic creators, and we meet every Thursday at the Comic Bug in Manhattan Beach, and we create comics together. So our first anthology was just a collection of our works that we've been working on, and we have some future ones.
Yeah, so the Ladybug Anthology, you can find out more information about it at ladybugcomics.org. There's like a little summary about it. You can see our super cute cover. The next anthology we have submissions open for, and men are allowed to submit to this one. It's called the Manthology, and the stories are about men, but we treat them the way Hollywood normally treats women. And so we're looking for two kinds of stories. One's that gender bend to show how ridiculous something is, like the ogres from World of Warcraft, how like that the women are just women with green skin, but the men are like ogres.
To be fair, they've got sharp teeth,
That's
right?
true.
Just like the one jagged
That's
tooth.
a good point. I did miss
So,
that.
yeah,
That makes it better.
Right.
And
They're
then,
both unfuckable.
Yeah.
both of them are pretty vulnerable, so I still let that one slide. And there are other things we could talk about. And then the other kinds of stories we're looking for are more like guy positive ones that show the way we never portray men in the media, like having feelings or being emotionally vulnerable or fighting evil with the power of truth and love with their magical boyfriends.
What?
Yeah, so we're just trying to like address gender stereotypes and kind of point out tropes so that writers can read it and learn not to write these things, or at least understand why it might be bad, and also just so that everyone could have a good laugh and look at a really fat pinup section.
Well, you know, I know Mike Wellman and June over there at the Comic Bug. They're amazing guys. I started going over there when their first creator group, you know, 10 years ago, probably now, CAG. You know, I did all of that, you know, and then the groups afterwards. And it's awesome that he's been able to create this community, you know, and, you know, you guys are coming together. Now, how did you guys, was it just spontaneous? You guys were like, hey, let's come together and do this anthology.
I mean, there's a sketchy bug group that's already putting together anthologies on its own, and so when they had a second group meeting on a regular basis at the Comic Bug, they decided why not give us a chance to make our own. So the Comic Bug is really cool, and they funded the Ladybug anthology and covered printing costs for us. It was just up to us to make the content and make it good, and both of us delivered. Boom.
That is awesome. And yeah, no, that's the power of having a really cool shop and a really cool owner like Mike. That he, you know, Mike Wellman was at, Mike and June were both at the very first taping of Comics on Comics 10 years ago. So they're huge supporters of us, you know, and I love those guys, you know, thank you. So that's awesome. Stefano, tell us about Gamma Gals.
Gamma Gals is the story of 3 teenage girls who gain superpowers after a gamma-radiated electrical storm hits their hometown, and it's basically just about them kind of protecting their city and being badass, awesome, you know, female characters that you don't get to see much of in comics that aren't overly sexualized, you know, no fan service or anything like that. It's just girls being awesome.
Sweet.
And that's kind of it.
And well, you're working on your Halloween and your Christmas specials, which means that your now first arc is finished.
I am so proud because I finally finished the 4-issue introductory arc for the series, and now I'm doing the Halloween special and then a Christmas special. Halloween one will be ready about October, I think. I'm hoping. I'm aiming for October. It takes me like 3 months to do an issue since I do all the penciling, inking, coloring, and all that fun stuff. But then the Christmas issue, I'm hoping by December or so. But that's about it for now, for me.
Sweet. Spence.
Yeah, let me tell you about my comic book.
Yeah.
I feel like men haven't gotten a representation in comic books. We're not really in them very much.
No.
So I'm writing about a new kind of guy. Like he's manly and he doesn't cry.
Okay.
He beats up people and drags girls around with their hair. Yeah, it's called Trump.
Right?
Yeah, I'm not doing anything. They're the good people.
Well, you are
Civil War
comedian and writer, Spence.
Yeah, I am those things. And I'm not ready to talk about it. Let's do the Civil War. I wrote notes about
Okay,
that.
very well. Enough with the introductions. Captain America Civil War came out, what is it now, 3 weeks ago. It crossed the $1 billion mark within 2 weeks of release, even less than that. In the time it took, Warner Brothers, Batman vs. Superman had made something like $800 million by the time Civil War had crossed $1 billion. So, this is clearly a juggernaut that, is just making a crap load of money, and it's actually a really good superhero movie. At least that's what I thought. So let's go down the line. Spence, what were your impressions of Civil War?
I really enjoyed it. I had a hard time trying to find things that I didn't like it. So, yay for Civil War. Do with them so I can figure out what the fuck we're doing. I've been messing up this whole time.
Okay, Stefano, what did you think?
I really liked it also. I don't know if I liked it as much as Winter Soldier, only because Winter Soldier was such a focused cat movie, and I think Civil War had more of a kind of scattered focus, but not in a bad way. I think it balanced its characters really well, but I'm still kind of torn on which one I like more. I'm pretty sure I like Winter Soldier more outside of some of the awesome set pieces in Civil War pretty sweet, but I liked it.
All right. Ashley? Oh, Christine. I'm sorry.
I was a fan of Civil War. It definitely felt like an Avengers movie more than anything else, but it was very thoroughly entertaining, and I didn't go in there only wanting the captain, so having everyone else show up was nice. And it was a good ride.
Yeah.
Oh, I really liked Civil War. I really liked the Black Panther. That was my
Yeah.
favorite character. That was
Oh,
so
Black
cool.
Panther was
Yeah,
amazing.
He was super
And-
awesome.
Yeah, and I thought that Spider-Man was also hilarious. So it was
Yeah,
worth it
that's-
just for those two things.
Absolutely. Let's give it up for finally having a great representation of Peter Parker Spider-Man. You know, thank you to Marvel for giving us this Peter Parker that we recognize. You know, in Spider-Man 3 we have Peter Parker who's literally beating Mary Jane, which is probably the furthest thing you can get from being Peter Parker Spider-Man. And then we have the Richard Garfield Spider-Man movies, which he wasn't bad as Spider-Man. It's just everything else so
Did you say
rattled.
Richard Garfield?
Richard, I'm sorry.
Don't correct him.
Yeah.
Don't correct him.
I know.
I saw he was going to do it, so I wanted to act tough.
I wanted to call one out on
Let's
this
just, like,
slandering
maintain the assumption that none of
one
us
dude,
know his
Garfield.
name.
The guy with the hair, his hair is so big, I can't really figure out how he puts the mask on. It's like his hair is like 8 inches tall on top of his head. And Andrew Garfield?
Andrew
Is that his name?
Garfield.
Yeah, Andrew
That's-
Garfield, yeah.
I was trying to figure out his name this whole time.
I think the other advantage with the Spider-Man thing is they just totally skipped over like an origin story, and so it's kind of like a promise that the next like movie we get isn't going to be a third origin story the Marvel way.
Right.
It's just going to be a Spider-Man story, which is like so nice.
Yeah, which is, you know, because we get in Batman vs Superman, for whatever reason, Zack Snyder wanted to put in Batman's origin story yet again. Like, how many times do we need to see his parents being shot in front of him? Like, we get it. We understand. We know what is going to happen. You don't need to tell us over and over again. We know what happened to Peter Parker. You don't have to tell us.
Yeah, well,
Like,
Snyder was more interested in copy-pasting iconic panels from the comic pages than actually telling a cohesive story. So at least the Russo brothers tend to have a knack of keeping things on task and focused. One of the things, I forgot if I talked to you about it before, but I wasn't too sure about Zemo initially in the movie, because while I'm watching it, the moment it would cut away to Zemo, because I guess I didn't know what he was doing, what his plan was, I felt like it slowed the movie down. And I'm like, well, it's interesting who this guy is. I knew who he was because spoilers, I guess.
Right.
But I'm like, he's doing his thing, but I don't really know why he's doing it. And then when you find out why he's doing it, you're like, oh, that's awesome. So I imagine that when I rewatch the movie a second time, it's going to be a lot more fun to kind of see
Or
like,
one part
he's doing
two.
his thing. Or
Yeah.
exactly. And so I'm like, I don't know. I think the Russos do a much better job of focusing on the characters and for every character, not just Cap. It wasn't just Cap having character growth in that movie. It was
Right.
everyone had their little bit of growing, so that when we see them again and whenever their next movies are going to be, they're going to be in a different place. Like Ant-Man, even his little moment in the movie was great. You know,
Yeah.
it was a highlight for me. I wasn't too big. I liked Ant-Man a lot, but I was annoyed at some things about Ant-Man, mainly how they handle Wasp in the movie.
Mm.
But I do like Paul Rudd, so I'm kind of torn because I think he's really good as Scott. But I like Hank Pym. I wanted to see Hank Pym as Ant-Man. You know, I kind of want to see a 1980s de-aged Michael Douglas Ant-Man movie with him and Janet as Wasp and Ant-Man. That would be cool. But we're gonna get Evangeline Lilly and Paul Rudd again. But that's okay, I guess.
Yeah, no,
I
I
really
mean,
wanted to see Wasp some more.
yeah,
That's a lot of work for an Ant-Man movie.
I know, right?
Putting Michael Douglas, making him younger, just to see how he can play.
I think it's worth it.
Well,
I
it's all
watch old Michael
CGI.
Douglas too. Michael Douglas is awesome, but I want to see it de-aged one. They did such a good job in that
Sure,
movie,
can you
de-aging
imagine?
everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, when Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, I know, right?
That was
It's
creepy.
holy shit.
Yeah, I was like, oh my god,
That was
that
good.
totally looks like him in Less Than Zero.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's the one downside of that scene was I was taken out of it because I was sitting there trying to figure out what they did to make that appear on the screen, and so I didn't catch any of the dialogue until the very end.
There's a
You
company
didn't
that
need to.
specializes in just
That's
that.
the worst scene of the film, in my opinion, because to have that scene, it means that it's right up there with the Batman Superman dream sequence to me, because I'm going to present this thing to a bunch of smart people. Let's put the most horrible moment in my life in front of them, because they couldn't get a metaphor. If you just put something, I don't know. I thought that.
Well, I mean,
was
I feel
really,
like-
I know why they had to do it.
Right.
And
They had to
was
set
better
it
than
up
a
so
dream
that.
sequence, but
But could you imagine just an exposition scene where he's like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Talking to his therapist or something, explaining that, I still haven't gone over the death of my parents, blah, blah, blah. But this way, we understand that he's beginning to get over it.
I don't think we needed to know that. I think he's a whiny bitch in this movie. Tony Stark.
Sure.
I mean, the whole reason he won't sign it is because it'll help him get back with Pepper
Well,
Potts because he doesn't have the self-control to stop being Iron Man. So he wants to fuck it up for everybody else.
Right.
I disagree. I mean, I'm on Team Cap, you know,
Sure.
like, I'm totally on Team Cap, but I think that Tony's motivations are more, and it's hard to describe, but it's like an extension of all the shit he went through in those previous movies and all that PTSD that he suffered. And I think his
Right.
intentions in the Age of Ultron were like noble. He wanted to protect not just his friends, but the world, but also Tony only has the Avengers. Like, that's all he has right now. He doesn't have Pepper, which is why I think they, aside from not getting Gwyneth Paltrow, like, he doesn't have Pepper in his life. He doesn't have, he has Rhodes, but he gets, TKO'd, pretty early on.
Right.
So all he has remaining is Iron Man and the Avengers. So he will do whatever it takes to keep that connection. It's actually really sad because, like, he doesn't, like Steve. Steve has, Bucky, which is why he's doing what he's doing, because that's his last connection, because what happens to Peggy, he doesn't have her in his life anymore, he only has Bucky, so he would do everything to protect Bucky and to keep Bucky in his life, and Tony will do everything he can to keep the Avengers together, because that's all they basically have. That's all they have left, and that's where they butt heads, and I thought that was really interesting. So I don't really think Tony was trying to, like, be a dick just to be a dick. I think he was being a dick because he's lonely, he's alone and sad. That
Sure,
sort of
but they're
thing.
not gonna. He could have also just as easily been. You think if he came on television and was like, "Hey, these guys want us to sign these papers, but we don't want to. Do you want the Avengers to go away?" I'm pretty like, who's this group of? I don't know. Never mind.
I mean,
Well,
it's
I don't know
not
who's
just-
bitching about him.
I mean, it's not just. I think what it comes down to is Tony Stark wants to finally start doing the right thing and be
Yeah.
a good person, but he doesn't have that moral compass that Captain does.
Mhm.
So, Captain America does not feel the need to have the UN look over everything he does before approving of it. He just wants to go out and do the right thing and sees other people as something that'll, like, delay him and get in the way. Whereas Tony Stark is constantly worried that he's going to make the wrong choice.
Okay.
And I think if you look at the people who are on Tony Stark, like Black Widow, she keeps wondering if she's like a moral person. I mean, that kind of logic doesn't apply to every single person, but the people who are at the forefront in the movie, like the ones who were on the side of letting someone else make the choices for them, are the ones who want to do the good thing but don't trust themselves.
Well, Rhodey's like, he's working for the government. He's not gonna like go against them. He's military, so that's why he's
Right.
on Team Cap and whatnot.
And we have to realize that in the comic books, what sets off the Civil War is there was a reality show, and there was an accident, and we get on camera an elementary school getting blown up. So when 250 children die in an explosion, then everyone's like, whoa, let's what are we doing here with superheroes? And in the movie, they didn't have that, so they had to put all of these events in succession. It's like, look, this happened, this happened, this happened,
I
and
sort
now
of
we
had
have
it with the Wanda thing. At the very beginning, she blows up part of a building, but it doesn't really stick because you never see the people inside of it before they're killed.
Yeah.
Right.
And so it does, or like you never even see people reporting, this is the face of this woman who will
Oh.
never see your children again. And it feels cheesy out of context, but that's something they were missing in the movie. So Wanda was horrified, but as a reader, as a viewer, I wasn't.
I feel bad for bringing this up. Sorry, Juan. I feel bad for bringing this up, but that reminded me of Batman v Superman and that opening sequence where Bruce is in Metropolis and Superman and Zod are doing their thing and his buddy's in the building and he gets killed. That's actually probably like the best part of that movie in terms of like emotional impact, because I thought it was really good. You did see the people in the building doing their thing, trying to talk to Bruce, and then all shit
But
breaks
here's
loose and they
the
die.
thing. That scene is perfectly fine in a pre 9/11 world,
Yeah.
but in a post 9/11 world, if you're in a building and you see shit beginning to go down, you're out of there.
Oh yeah, totally.
You're not gonna be like, oh, let me call Bruce. Hey,
Yeah, I thought that
stuff
was
is going
stupid,
on.
but
yeah, exactly.
I mean,
So-
calling him, should I leave,
Yeah,
boss?
exactly.
The building's crumbling around me, but I got some emails I need to check. Oh,
Yeah.
oh man,
I
lasers
gotta
lasers set me on fire.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it doesn't make sense so. But that's an
Bruce is like,
for-
so Chad, did you send that email?
Yeah, right.
Well, I don't understand the woman that's waiting at the elevator, which first of all is just weird that she knew he was going to be like depressed that he had to read Pepper Potts on the screen because and he comes out. The other option of her son not dying was the world dying. And what did she want? I don't, like, to me, it's like, I get it, they're trying to do it like drones. Like, we're killing innocent people and stuff, but the things the Avengers are getting, like, it outweighs Like, I don't, a drone gets one dude that's in a cave and kills 10 innocent people. Whereas they saved the world.
Right.
Well,
I mean,
that's why
it's
the scene with Wanda had to be there, because that made it small stakes and a bunch of people died.
Right, but then because we don't ever get to see the bodies, because we don't ever feel the emotional impact, so we know that she's going through some stuff because she's being emo about it, but we don't identify with the dead bodies.
I kind of wish we had seen some of that in Age of Ultron. One of the parts, and it kind of sucks, but when Cap is trying to hold the car with the woman and the guy in it, and it falls over the edge, and for that brief moment you think, fuck, Cap, failed, and then Thor comes and he saved the lady in the car. I think we should have had that sequence where we saw at least a few people, die. I know they want to keep it PG and PG-13, for the younger audience, but I think even just a little bit,
We do get a split second of introspection when Hawkeye is laying down and Quicksilver's body's right there.
Yeah, we get that, but it's Quicksilver. He's one of the heroes, and he has superpowers. I think it will be much more impactful to see an actual mortal, kind of dead. Even a hand fall, dramatically cliche hand falling into frame, like, oh no, someone's dead. But I think that could keep the rating safe, but also get that message across emotionally that there is a cost to their heroics. But the way Age of Ultron, and I really like that movie. I know a lot of people don't, but I really liked it. But the way that plays out is that there was no cost at all. Like, they saved every single person, and then in Civil War you see 147 people were killed in Age of Ultron, and you're like, really?
Yeah.
I didn't see that part. I just saw the highlight reel of the Avengers being awesome.
Yeah.
It's propaganda. These films are
Superhero
all
propaganda. They're all superhero propaganda. We're supposed to root for these heroes. I don't know why.
And then also, one thing to keep in mind is the relative time frame in which these movies now take place. Marvel Phase 1 literally takes place over the course of about a week.
Yeah.
And, in Civil War, we find out, those events happened about 3 to 4 years ago. So, we now know that it's been about 3 or 4 years, which brings up, when people ask about crossing over with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., something that is, it's not true. I absolutely agree 100%. But one of the things that people have said is, why can't it cross over? And they have said, look, if we have a character in Season 1, is introduced in Season 1 of their show, by the time it comes out in the movie, they're already on Season 3. So how can they lock in a character, that far in advance? So that is why we're not going to get a crossover, and I believe by setting Civil War now 3-4 years after these events, because they're still dealing with the events of Captain America: Winter Soldier. So that means that we're now completely separated from the TV universe and the movie universe. We're going to get another. Was it part 2 in? Was it next year?
Which one?
For Civil War.
I don't know, actually. I thought that was...
Civil War
now?
Huh?
In the comics world, right?
No, in the movie.
Oh, well, I have no idea.
Yeah. Well, because didn't they break this one up into 2 parts?
No.
Also?
No, that's going to be Avengers. Infinity War is going to be broken up.
That's going to be Infinity War is going to be broken up. Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm like, do you know this? Like, I know they didn't. I know they did another Civil War in the comics, and I haven't read that one yet. I don't know what's going on with that. I know it's like Captain Marvel is on one side and someone else is on the other.
Well, we can talk about
Iron Man again.
We can talk about the absolute latest with Captain America. Yesterday, Captain America #1 came back. He's now, he used to be a decrepit old man for a little bit, but now there he is, shiny and new, and he says 2 words that literally set the internet aflame. Now, but before we get into that, the conspiracy theory that I subscribe to with this is that for the longest time, DC has been saying, hey, we're rebooting our universe. It's coming. Look, the issue 1 got leaked. People were extremely pissed that Watchmen is now in the DC universe, and the comic book comes out this Wednesday. And what does all of the news outlets around the country talk about?
Captain America.
Captain America, because he says 2 words, and now it completely, Marvel has completely stolen DC's thunder at this point. DC really, really desperately needs to launch this and be really awesome, and yet Captain America says 2 little words, guys. What are the 2 words that Captain America said yesterday?
Hell Hydra.
Yes. Captain America says Hail Hydra, and everybody is now super pissed that Captain America has always been a Nazi, and so
He's always been a Nazi?
yes, from the very beginning, he has been a Hydra soldier, and that is why the internet is all aflame.
It all makes sense.
But think about it. They stole DC, like, Marvel isn't doing anything right now, but
Yeah, they are. They're trolling DC. That's kind of what they just
Exactly.
like go to the DC Twitter feeds and are just like, how can we
It's almost
fuck
like
with
Marvel
DC
is
today?
better than DC, and people care more
Almost.
about what Marvel does.
almost.
The turnaround, though.
Almost like that.
Yeah.
The turnaround between the 2 companies, though, like DC used to be the shit, like in like the 80s and 90s, and like DC, Marvel drools, that sort of thing, and now it's like completely opposite. DC's dropping the ball like every friggin' week, and then
Yeah.
Marvel's like just impressing everybody, making movies that are true to the characters and that respond well with audiences and whatnot. Who knew that would work?
What?
Who
I think
knew?
part of the problem is like with Rebirth, just DC is not doing a good enough job. Like there's not really a lot to talk about other than the Watchmen angle, and there's not a lot of stuff that people are resonating with. Whereas people are actively, constantly resonating with Marvel Comics, and then when they mess up, that's a big deal. Versus that like DC messing up, it's like, oh, again.
It's Wednesday. Looks like you messed up again.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's why I read Marvel comics mostly, is because I'm sick of being disappointed, even though I love DC characters. Because it's, again, they were big in the 80s and 90s, so that's what I grew up with. I didn't even know any Marvel characters other than the X-Men and Spider-Man, and that was because they had lost the rights to them, so they were being made into other stuff.
Right.
And so now I'm like a big bad adult, and Marvel just makes such great comics, though. So I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world to have to switch.
I agree. Like, I love Batman, but I don't read Batman comics anymore. I'm mostly reading Marvel stuff, which is sad.
Yeah. So what did you like about DC?
I don't know. I just love Batman. I love Batwoman. I just really like. I love Batwoman because of the interesting storylines, and the art was beautiful and it was really interesting.
Yeah. What was it?
J.H.
Williams III.
Dude, that was like the first comic I picked up, and that was the worst comic to start with because it never actually ended because they cut it off 2 issues early.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
And that was like the end of my love for DC. It started and then it immediately ended.
Same. Yeah.
Yeah. His layouts, he's
The
actually
ink washes,
amazing.
he does everything traditionally, and then he just adds color like in post. It's so gorgeous. I just want to like cut off his hands and like tape them where I go. Whoa.
I think that will work. Yeah, I think some Scotch tape. That's how that
I know
works.
there is some science there that could make that happen. I think.
Yeah. Some Doctor Strange stuff. And speaking of Doctor Strange, I had not seen the trailer because I generally don't watch the trailers for these movies because I know I'm going to see these movies. Why do I want to spoil anything?
I'm horrible at watching. I watch all the trailers. I'm like, I'm not gonna watch this trailer. There's a new Doctor Strange trailer. I gotta check it out right now. And my wife's like, please don't do that. I'm like, but I want to see the trailer.
It's like there's no way on earth that there's going to be a Star Wars trailer that comes out that makes me go, no, I'm going to skip this one.
Pass.
Yeah. So that way, because I know this, I'm not going to watch any trailer because I want to be as fresh as possible. So when I saw Civil War before they ran the Doctor Strange trailer, and my God, was I excited.
Yeah,
I
that's
was
good.
squealing in the seats. I cannot wait for this movie. It is going to be so amazing. But Marvel is just knocking it out of the park.
Well, I think a lot.
I wasn't that excited about the Doctor Strange trailer because I feel like if you're already like familiar with him, like it's exciting, but it didn't give me a lot of information about who he is or what he's trying to accomplish or what his powers are. It was a series of trippy visuals, and then we got Benedict Cumberbatch, who is very sexy, and then Tilda Swinton, who was very cool, and then that's it. And that's. I mean, I'm gonna see it, but you could give me a little
I
more
just think they were
information.
banking on that. I think they were just banking on Cumberbatch
You didn't
and
get it?
Yeah.
No,
his allure.
he has to like find out and really believe in himself, and then he's gonna be able to run and dodge bullets and stuff. It's gonna be awesome.
I've never heard that
Is it
premise
like
before.
basically the Matrix? Like
Yeah.
No, that was the joke. Is that looks like the
It's very Inception-y.
yeah. I decided not to
Yeah.
go with Inception. I went with
The
Matrix.
Matrix.
Okay,
I probably should
just one of those movies.
Yeah. But I'm super. Well, I guess you're right. I do know the lore inside and out, so I
actually don't. I'm not like.
Yeah,
It's
me
not that I
neither.
don't like Doctor Strange. I'm vaguely familiar with him, mainly from his guest spots on like cartoons, like the
Sure.
old Spider-Man cartoon, and then the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon. I don't know if he ever showed up on the X-Men one or anything, but I think he might have showed up on like the Hulk or Captain America cartoons from way back in the day. But that's pretty much my only like understanding of Doctor Strange, and then playing as him in Marvel vs. Capcom. And I think the third one I would play as him, but that's about it. But the movie looked interesting, looked cool, and I always liked that Cumberbatch was cast. I'm not like the hugest Cumberbatch fan, but I do like him.
Yeah.
Like, I do think he's really entertaining.
He's very, very sexy, like you said. He's very visually appealing, which appeals to about 50% of humans in the world.
Well, yes, but they don't spend any money. That's why they don't make any toys. That's why they don't want to spin up. Ike Perlmutter, he's like, look, women don't spend any money on these things. So don't you guys agree? Like, don't you guys not like comic books, right? You didn't see the movies, or you didn't buy the toys.
No.
Yeah.
It hurts so much to be sarcastically agreeing with you. There are genuinely people out there who would be like, see, even these girls are saying they don't spend money on comics.
Right.
Why are they on the show? They don't like comic books.
Yeah, I mean, it's silly, that Ike Perlmutter, I guess he comes from Toy Biz, or, like in the 80s. He's been the one who's been shutting down all female-centered superhero movies.
There was
Black
supposed
Widow.
to be like a female villain in Iron Man 3.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah, apparently,
How did they not do that?
Yeah, because it would have been amazing. We've got,
Because they
Pepper
can't sell
Potts.
toys
Exactly.
with girls. Ew, cooties.
Because boys don't want to play with girls' toys,
I know, right?
I've heard like of boys wanting to play with girls' toys and then the parents saying no because a girl action figure is a doll. So I think that just comes down to rebranding and
I
making
just
sure
had
your
it,
girl
like-
action figures are super fucking cool.
I just
Yeah,
figured it was
absolutely.
like Giganta fighting against my G.I. Joes, with their superpowers stomping on them.
DC at least is putting out a line of like superhero girls.
Oh yeah, they
like
made
the-
like bank on that already.
Yeah.
Because it's just like throwing breadcrumbs to like this big huge audience of hungry little kids who just desperately want like a Supergirl like figure that isn't over $200 and showing a lot of cleavage, and somehow they've never tapped into that market before.
Yeah, I know,
Well, they've
it's
been
weird.
ignoring 50% of the market for some inexplicable reasons. Like, do you not like money?
think
Do you not want money?
I've heard part of the theory behind this is, as someone who's Disney and Marvel are the same company, it's in their best interest to only sell dolls and Disney princess stuff to the girls and only sell action figure and superhero stuff to the boys, because even though that's really shitty and dumb, it helps them understand their markets better and makes it easier to sell them stuff and perpetuate gender stereotypes and continue making money off of that. And then the end. Everyone dies.
I mean, it's like my niece doesn't need a pink lightsaber. She doesn't need pink Jedi robes. She wants to put on the black and she wants to pick up a red lightsaber, and that is awesome. And the fact that for whatever reason these people choose not to cater to these demographics is just silly. I know that there are a lot of cartoons like Teen Titans, which is insanely popular, but because it doesn't sell the toys to the right people, they have to then cancel it. Because, oh no, we don't want adults buying these toys, because we don't want adults' money, we want kids' money.
Because, those hardworking kids at their jobs every day, toiling away 8 hours a
Kids'
day.
money, adult money.
Exactly. It's
After
the
a hard
parents.
day's work, they sit down on the couch, pop open a beer, smoke a cigar.
Root beer and, candy
Mom,
cigarettes.
read me a bedtime story.
So we're all in agreement. So women get their fair share in comics.
Right. It's slowly but surely,
It's getting there.
We've got more female creators, we've got more female characters.
Between
out
now
there.
and 2020, we're gonna have like 2 movies with female protagonists out of the 20 they announced for this like
Whoa.
5-year segment.
Wait, that's
2
too
of them
many.
are for us.
That's
Two. Yeah.
That's, I don't know, that may be too
But
many.
if one of them fails and the other one's good, they're still gonna look at the bad one and be like,
Oh, yeah, of
no,
course.
Oh, yeah.
no.
Of course.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Wonder,
because-
like so much is riding on Wonder Woman right now.
Wonder
It's
Woman
like everyone's
is
sweating bullets because I
consistently
love
the
Wonder
best
Woman.
part of Batman
Oh, I
versus
know, right?
Superman.
I love Wonder Woman so much, and I'm like, please, for the love of Christ, let this movie be good. There's like so much riding on this movie, and people are like, well, if it's just a bad movie, they'll just move on to the next one. I'm like, no, that's not the point. Batman v Superman, it's a minority. Batman v Superman, like, really hurt Cyborg. It's like,
Right.
I mean, Cyborg's not exactly the most amazing superhero, but neither was fucking Ant-Man. Neither was, Guardians of the Galaxy with the talking raccoon and tree. It's like, but Marvel has more confidence in their characters than DC does. We should get a, shit, I can't even think of one. We should get a Blue Booster Gold or Blue Beetle movie or a,
Well, you know what?
Think of, like,
For that,
Spectre or something. But
I-
DC's like Spectre, Swamp Thing, Animal
Yeah,
Man.
right.
Who are those guys? You know, we don't trust those. More Batman. We need more Batman and everything. You know, I'm sure they're going to release a Booster Gold movie and somehow have Batflick in there somewhere. You know, because they need to market the movie because Booster Gold's not strong enough to stand on his own, according to DC. And Marvel's like, yep, our next movie is going to have, you know, like Doctor Strange, like we talked about. He's not really an iconic named, big name character. He's not really that, well known. But so was Iron Man. Like, no, Iron Man was like
Right.
a C-list Avenger, and then they cast Robert Downey Jr. And now he's leading the Avengers, and every other Avengers product, Iron Man's the dude. And it's like it was always Cap. Captain America was always the guy. But DC doesn't have that faith in anything that doesn't have a cape and a cowl, and bats flying everywhere. And I love Batman too, but I'm like, dude, you guys have this stable of amazing characters and you do jack shit with them. And I know that if Wonder Woman does bad, they're gonna be like, well, see, no one wants to see, women in superhero roles and doing all that kind of shit,
Right. The fact that Green Lantern did poorly did not affect Batman.
Yeah.
Whereas if Wonder Woman does not do well, then they may not do Black Widow.
Yeah.
They may not.
They're not going to do Black Widow anyways.
Oh, of course not.
Yeah. Well,
She's such a great character. That sucks.
Comics
Black
are
Widow's
good.
awesome.
She's good. Like Scarlett Johansson is amazing. Why would they not
And
give
she's
her
a box
her own
office
movie?
draw.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
that one movie she made, what was it, Lucy? I think it was.
Oh, yeah.
It was like 160 million in the box office. And that was this non-Marvel Disney tied, thing. I guarantee if it was a Black Widow movie, it'd be a 300 million domestic, grosser. It's like, it's fucking Scarlett Johansson. Who doesn't want to see Scarlett Johansson be awesome and pretty and kick ass and be a cool spy? I don't see how they couldn't do the equivalent of Winter Soldier, with Black Widow.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm dying for Black Widow.
No, we aren't allowed to be sarcastic because people
Yeah.
will think
I know,
we're
right?
True. Okay, you're
This
right.
is true.
We're
This
like
is
the
what we get
token
for being
women,
women.
so-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know Marvel's in a special position because, like, with DC movies, the draw is the character, but with Marvel, they've set it up that they make good movies and tell good stories.
Mhm.
So people will go see Ant-Man even though they have no idea who he is.
Yeah.
And so when Captain Marvel comes out, it will be a woman in the forefront, but people are still going to see it. And I feel like they're in a position where they don't need to rely on who the character is, as long as because people will be on
Yeah.
board, so they can push boundaries a lot more than they are. Like we still haven't seen any like openly gay characters in either universe, according to like the cinema version, even though they're in the comics. And I'd really like to see that. I mean, there are people who want like Captain America and Bucky to get together. There's like filthy perverts, but I mean, God bless them. I know the second Deadpool movie, there have been like nerdy whispers about how badly they want Deadpool and was it Colossus to get
Yeah.
together? Yeah, because he's like openly pansexual in the comics, but they
Right.
aren't showing that on screen. And I think like a Young Avengers movie would kick ass, but
Yes, it
there are
would.
so many missed opportunities, and I feel like they have this power to kind of challenge the status quo and change what movies are about by promising like funny, witty banter and good storytelling and solid plot arcs, but also showing us people we've never seen on the big screen before.
Absolutely. And Marvel has those characters to draw from. Like you said, they can pull in the Young Avengers, and that that gets them Hulkling and what was the
Wiccan,
Wiccan,
and then
yeah, Wiccan, yeah.
they get like a little baby Loki,
And
they get Kate Bishop, who's definitely the best Hawkeye. Like I love her.
Yeah, and and the thing with Hulkling, it's like you can talk about the whole sexual spectrum with a character like that because he's a changeling. So going back to Civil War, I think that it was amazing in introducing both Black Panther and Captain America.
Oh, yeah.
Very succinctly, they didn't get bogged
They
down with
introduced
anything.
Captain
Well, Spider-Man.
America.
I'm sorry, Black Panther and Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Yes. Clearly, they did not need to introduce Captain America in his third movie.
Okay, I'm going to go off on a little tangent for a second.
Yeah,
Black
I don't know.
Panther.
Oh, sorry. Go on.
I was just gonna say Black Panther for me, like growing up, I don't know, I've told this story like a billion times before, but growing up, when I was in school, I wasn't allowed to be like Batman or Superman or Spider-Man or Green Lantern or Flash or any of the characters that I loved growing up. And I asked my classmates why, and they said, well, because you're black. And I'm like, well, I'll be the bad guy then. I'm like, I'll be Brainiac or Lex Luthor or something. It's like, oh, you can't be those guys because they're white too. And so it's like, you get to be the bank robber, you can be the gang member that robs the bank, and then we swoop in as the Justice League and beat you up because, bank robberies, the Justice League gets called in, But growing up, and I didn't know about characters like Black Lightning or Luke Cage or Black Panther or any other black superhero with black in the name and electric powers. But a character like Black Panther, I would have eaten him up if I had known he existed. So to see him in this movie and be as well realized as he is means so much to me. You know, as a young black boy, you know, like who loves superheroes but can never participate. So having a character like him, just like Finn in Star Wars, just having, you know, a character that looks a lot like me, but and acts like me in some ways, you know, it's really nice to see. He's not a stereotype or a cliche. Like Black Panther was regal as shit in that movie. Like,
Oh, absolutely.
He was so awesome.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'd go there, and I'm, you know.
Yeah, everybody wants to go to Wakanda.
I'm like,
you know?
I want to go to Wakanda. I want to be, you know, I want to go and have a badass vibranium suit and shit. But yeah, I thought he was so good, and it meant so much to me. And I know a lot of other minorities, not just, you know, blacks, but in general, just seeing that kind of representation and done so well. It's nice. It's very similar to, you know, representation of women in fiction too. It's like we don't really get to see that version of us on the big screen, so it's really cool when we see it.
It's almost as if there's a larger demographic than white straight male.
Almost.
I'm
not sure about
you
that.
know,
I mean,
you know,
know.
we won't. Let's not rock the boat too much. You know, that's. But you know, yeah, that's what's amazing. You know, that we are getting this sort of diversity with our superheroes, and they're being true to their characters.
Yeah,
they're being
exactly.
true to their nature. You know, unlike Batman versus Superman, like. You saw the Flash for like 3 seconds, and you're like, "Who?
Yeah,
what?
who was
Why?"
that? What was that? And then, you know, go to the WB or
You
CW.
know.
I keep calling it the WB. It's the CW now.
CW,
You
yeah.
turn on the CW
Yeah,
and you see one of
UPN.
the best realized versions of the Flash, like out there right now. Like I love that show.
Next month's episode, we're gonna be talking about Flash Arrow. I cannot wait. But goddamn, was that Flash finale?
I haven't
amazing.
seen the finale
Oh my
yet
God.
because I watch it on Hulu, so I have to watch it the next day. And
Yeah, okay. That's just it's no,
It's
it was
good.
bad. It was bad.
It's
Don't-
awful.
Don't watch it.
Don't watch it.
Horrible. We'll just move on to Civil War. You know, so Spider-Man.
Yeah.
He had, what was it, 47 lines in that movie. Superman apparently had 42 lines in his movie. You know, and I believe, you know, this was the best representation of Peter Parker I've
definitely.
ever seen. You know, he was just, you know, banter, a mile a minute, and the best part, like the eyes moving, you know,
No.
the aperture.
I love the.
You don't like that?
He was a teenager.
Yes.
He was one. I love that he actually acted like
He looked
a
and
real,
sounded like a
real
teenager, you know?
Yes. He
The
behaved
eye-
like one. It was cool.
Well, no, the eyes. I know everyone loves the eyes, and they look cool as shit. But the setup for it is he can't. He's got all the senses coming around,
Right.
so he needs to wear those all the time.
Yeah.
And it never like just from a writing perspective, that was the number one thing that really drove me crazy about the movie was make that a problem at some point where his senses are going crazy because it seemed to me it wasn't really a thing. It just looked really cool.
I've been setting it up for future movies.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
guessing. Because he only
But they
had
are-
like what,
it's-
20
no,
minutes of
it's
screen
not-
time, I guess.
Yeah.
I love the movie. I had that was like one of the few, and the no parachute. And why the fuck would Iron Man not have an emergency parachute in his?
Oh, War Machine, yeah.
Like that's the first thing you put in a jetpack. That really bothered me.
Okay, well, you know, he's got all those guns. He's War Machine. He probably took out the parachute to put on
To
more
put another
missiles.
rocket.
Yeah, you know, because that's what he
He's
does.
a genius. He should have done that.
Yeah, he should.
Tony
Yeah.
Stark is like famously arrogant. Maybe he was like parachute. Why the
Why
fuck
would I
would
do
anyone
that?
need
Yeah,
that?
why would I do
Yeah,
that?
Titanic doesn't need more lifeboats. Come on, he doesn't need a parachute.
I think what impressed me the most about Spider-Man was that it was an actor that was both so good as Peter and Spider-Man.
Oh,
Whereas,
yeah.
like, I really liked Tobey Maguire, but that's because I thought he was a really good Peter, but not a very good Spider-Man. And Andrew Garfield, I hated as Peter Parker. I thought he was like the worst fucking Peter Parker I've ever seen. But he was
way
great
too
as
suave.
yeah, he was. Yeah, I know. Like
Yeah.
Peter's like, I'm still signing awkward, and this Peter's like, hey, you know, Gwen
Right?
Stacy, how you doing? And she's like, oh, how you doing, Peter? Like, I don't get it. Like, that's not Peter Parker. At least not high school era Peter Parker that he was
Right.
supposed to be. But his Spider-Man was good. Like, I always thought Andrew Garfield did a good Spider-Man, but Tom Holland is so good as both Peter and Spider-Man, and we see how vulnerable and guarded he is when he's talking to Tony. Like, he doesn't want to tell him too much, even though he knows who Tony is. Like, obviously he knows Tony Stark is Iron Man. But what I love about that scene is probably like my favorite part of that movie, outside of seeing Spider-Man doing the Spider-Man thing, was just where he's talking to Tony about why he does what he does. You know, and it was just such a good, like, awesome, touching scene. And he only has 47 lines of dialogue in the movie, and it's just so like well done. Like I'm like, oh my god, I'm like screaming at the screen because like they've gotten Spider-Man right finally.
Yeah,
it's really nice.
and you know what I love is they the aperture of the eyes, which is a signature I believe of Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
Like his eyes go big when he's got his spider senses are tingling. They go small when he's like looking at stuff, whatever. And we'd never gotten that in the previous movies.
Yeah.
And the other thing that we got is a throwback to the 70s, the stinger at the end with the big red light.
Yeah.
That was awesome. That like
It's a computer. One of Iron Man's cool ass move everything around.
But
It's a spider signal.
No, here's the difference is
Better
that
not
if
be.
it was a computer, then it would have appeared in front of him, so he can go brrr, boop, boop, right. But it didn't. It appeared up against the wall, and because he was shooting it from his hand. And I just can't wait for the scene where like he illuminates himself and he takes a picture of himself and he sends it to J. Jonah Jameson, and that is going to be amazing. But we that is awesome that we finally get Spider-Man in these movies. I personally believe that we're going to get the X-Men is going to come back to Marvel.
Maybe.
What are some of the characters that you guys would like to see come out?
Fantastic Four. And I'm not even a big Fantastic Four fan. I just think they can be so cool. And honestly, I really just want Doctor Doom. Like, fuck the Fantastic Four, but I like Doctor Doom to come back.
Versus
and I
Iron Man,
think
for
Doctor
sure,
Doom,
yeah.
one of my ideas about Doctor Doom and the Fantastic Four and how they could be integrated into the movie was after Age of Ultron with the Sokovia stuff. How, Sokovia gets destroyed. And I thought it would be cool if Victor took over Sokovia, renamed it Latveria, and built it back up again as his own kind of like little thing. But all of the like he's messing with some kind of technology or whatnot to rebuild, Sokovia and Latveria.
He's building his castle on top of Ultron's contraption.
Yeah, exactly. But all of
gives him access
those,
to the
all of that,
technology.
like stuff that happens in, say Doctor Strange and having him come in, it upsets like Galactus, and so Galactus is on his way to Earth, and they're like, how can we stop, Galactus? Doctor Doom's doing his thing, and then the Fantastic Four come in and kind of work together like that. I always thought the Fantastic Four worked really good as a support group. Like I'm sure they can headline their own movie, but I always liked it better when they integrated with the other Marvel characters. Like they'd show up, Spider-Man will go to the Baxter Building and try to get a job because he's poor, and they're like, we're a non-profit organization, Spider-Man, sorry, and he's like, God dang it, I always liked that, and the rivalry between Johnny Storm and Peter was always a lot of fun, and I would love to see that. And of course, Doctor Doom is like one of the most badass like villains Marvel has outside of Magneto. And I would just love to see him done right for a change. Like, I just want to see these characters done right, and Marvel has shown that they can do their characters better than anybody else has done so far. Even though those movies are great, I love the Sam Raimi movies, but, I mean, that still wasn't quite Spider-Man. It was an acceptable Spider-Man, but it wasn't Spider-Man. And so pretty much every Marvel character that doesn't belong to Marvel, I want them back at Marvel.
Yeah. Christine, what do you...
I know She-Hulk had a really great comic run where she was just
Yeah.
beating
I
a
love
lawyer, and then just stuff happened on the side that was
that'd be so much
superhero-y.
Yeah.
It's probably my favorite comic run if I had to just pick one. I think Miss Marvel would be really cool to see.
Yeah.
I've already said Young Avengers, but I want to say it as many times as possible. That would be the fucking best thing that you could do. Like probably like a Netflix thing, because it's not a 2-hour kind of story. It's like a binge for 13-hour kind of story. And also, like, again, Kate Bishop, Hawkeye. You just make a Hawkeye movie, but don't tell anyone it's about the other Hawkeye, because they have the same name. And everyone will be really mad, but then they'll forget how mad they are when they realize how fucking delightful she is.
Well, no, here's the thing. Like, I don't like Jeremy Renner Hawkeye. Like, I don't. Never have. I just...
He's grown on me
That's the
since...
comic.
I agree. He's the heart of the whole thing somehow.
I thought, like, I didn't like him in his other appearances, but I thought from, like, Age of Ultron on, I thought he actually finally started kind of feeling like Hawkeye for a change. That kind of snarky, sarcastic, jackass who's cocky and arrogant because he's so good at what he does. But I thought I like him. I think he's okay.
Yeah, then I guess I'm just the only one. I don't...
There's
He just
probably
sits
more
there
people
just
than
being
us
like...
five.
I mean, he
I
doesn't
think
really
that
get
maybe-
his own character arcs. Like, the best arc he's had was he secretly has a family, which was just like,
I love that.
ha, gotcha, we're trying to build him up so you think we're going to kill him off.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the psych killed someone else.
Yeah.
Good job, Marvel.
And it was hilarious because in the previous movie they tried to hint that him and Black Widow had a thing, and because they had a close up of her necklace and it was a little arrow,
Was it? I don't even remember that.
So they were trying to be real subtle about
That
it.
is exactly what
you know.
Black Widow would do if she had hooked up with him.
Yeah.
And I think
Right.
they did all
Wear
success
arrow
right
necklace.
now.
Yeah.
She probably writes his name a lot in her books.
Yeah.
Widow Heart
Mrs.
Hawkeye.
Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Mrs. Hawkeye. Natasha Hawkeye.
Okay, maybe it's good that we haven't had a Black Widow movie yet, because they might do something like that.
Yeah.
And they might be really confused if we tell them that's bad.
That Bruce Banner Widow thing in Age of Ultron was probably the one part that I absolutely loathed about
yeah,
that movie.
that was
Because I love
really
Mark Ruffalo.
forced.
I really like Mark Ruffalo, but I'm like, that came out of freaking nowhere. It's like,
It did not.
what is
I
this?
predicted it from the first Avengers movie. I was like, I can't believe they're going to hook up Hulk and.
Why? Because he was chasing her down the air carrier, and you're like, that's love right there. That is not rage.
There was
That is
moments.
love.
I've known it since then, and I was like, well, they're probably not going to do that, and that's what made me, because it makes perfect sense. He's the only man. Not only is he really nice, but in Hulk mode, he's the only man that she's like scared of. Like everybody else is just a little
Okay.
puss. I think they make perfect sense together.
One of the things that drives me crazy is that the character, the female in the group, always has to date within the team.
Well,
It's like
that's
this
because
ownership
the
thing.
guys have to have a love interest to prove that they're real men, and because
Right.
she's the only
Yeah.
female character who's already there, you don't want to introduce 5 new women
'Cause then
because
they-
that's
Right.
too many women.
That's true.
So they,
you have,
they
you have
just
to
boss
balance
her
the
around.
women's scales.
Yeah.
You know? Arrow just did that recently to all of our delight and love that
Yeah.
happened in that show. Good old Arrow.
Well, I mean, personally, I think Arrow's a bit slow. It's not nearly.
Well,
as
it
awesome
wasn't
as
as atrocious as the last season, but it wasn't really good either. It was just kind of like, yep, that's Arrow. I'm watching it because I like the cast, but that's about it.
Yeah. But
That's
yet,
adorable.
It's no Flash. It's no Flash. And I'm biased, I guess, because Flash was like my favorite, superhero. I had a little action figure when I was 5, and you would squeeze his arms, and his little legs would run like this, and I loved that Flash action figure so much.
he flailed.
Yeah, he was just kind of squeezing his arms.
You want to see?
I would love to see a Black Widow movie, but apparently Marvel hates money. So
They
know,
do.
right?
They
Yeah.
do.
That boggles my mind.
And I would love Ms. Marvel also. I think that'd be really interesting, especially just because.
Is
Yeah.
Miss
Miss Marvel's
Marvel
awesome.
Captain's girlfriend?
I'm sorry?
No.
No.
Oh, it
No,
doesn't.
she's like
Thank
a
Christ.
16-year-old Pakistani American girl.
Oh,
Oh, you're talking about Kamala, not
Yeah.
Yeah,
Carol.
Kamala.
Oh, yeah, I love
Yeah.
Kamala.
Yeah.
Kamala's
No,
so
no, no, I'm
awesome.
sorry.
That's way more interesting.
she's
than
Captain
I thought.
Marvel.
Yeah.
I thought Miss Marvel was gonna be that.
No.
Because there is a Captain Marvel
No,
movie,
I
and I
love,
think they've implied that Miss Marvel is going to be in that or
I hope
something.
so.
Really?
Well, I
Like,
thought
I
Captain
remember
Marvel was a
hearing about
girl.
clip
I
of
heard
her, like,
so.
yeah.
Okay,
Yes. He's also I'm pretty sure he's also a boy in the ZC universe, like a young boy who turns into a giant man.
Yeah, Shazam.
Shazam.
It's
Yeah.
comics, man.
Yeah, right.
Oh, I've been
Yeah, I love
lost
Kamala
this
so
whole
much. She is such a
Yeah.
she's such an adorable, awesome character.
And
I love that book.
And I think the comics really tackle Islamophobia in an interesting
Yeah, exactly,
way. It's
exactly.
Really, it's a good comic. I
Are
think
there
it'd be a
any
cool movie.
LGBT characters you want to see on
I
screen?
love Batwoman, but they don't love her apparently at DC. But
Right.
Batwoman's awesome.
Yeah, I like
you're-
Batwoman, too.
You talk about the LGBT and you're talking about Flash, and then they got the Pied Piper, which I read was the first openly gay comic book character, which seems really you can't have the first gay comic
Well,
book character
maybe
be
from-
Pied Piper. Like that's way. I mean, it's a guy who kidnaps children.
I think that's also. I think that we have to think about the fact that that's just in the big two. Also, there's tons of LGBT comics out there, and they've been around since forever.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean,
Well, if it's
Yeah.
not the 616 for
I know.
DC, that doesn't
Yeah,
exist.
I know.
So, but yes, it would be awesome if we, Dark Horse started giving us, movies. I would love to see Grendel. I would love to see. I believe a Concrete movie would be, super slow, super boring. Nobody would watch it, but I would love it.
2 hours of looking at concrete dry. That does sound super boring.
Quite literally, that would probably be what it
I
would
want to
be.
see I want a Spectre TV show or something. Like, I think Spectre's such a cool DC character, and I think having a spirit of vengeance, one up because Ghost Rider's such a fail as far as Marvel goes. Well,
Right.
Sony failed on that one, but I think he's back at Marvel now. Ghost Rider. I think they got the rights for him, Blade, and some other dudes back. But I would love to see a
Marvel Knights
Spectre.
would be great.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I would love to see a Spectre TV show. I think everything should be on Netflix now. Now that
Yes.
Jessica Jones was so awesome, and so was Daredevil.
Yeah.
And I want everything to be a Netflix show. Even though I want She-Hulk in the movies, I would really like a police these procedural lawyer shows.
Oh, absolutely.
She-Hulk. Like,
A
that would be
She-Hulk
so
versus Matt Murdock.
Yeah, exactly. Have like those
No,
two facing off would be so much fun.
That would be
Because
amazing.
we never get to see Matt do any lawyerly type things. I
Yeah.
think we saw on the show, like season 1, there was one episode where he's like, I'm a lawyer. And then like all season 2, he's like, I don't do that shit anymore, Foggy. You take care of it. I mean, I guess it gave Foggy something to do. But it's
Yeah.
like, Matt's just like the worst like friend ever in season 2 of Daredevil.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be so cool to have like, She-Hulk show up in the courtroom all green and shit, with her suit on. And Matt's like, what the hell is this? Like, what's going on? And then she like schools him on the floor. That'd be pretty cool.
She would tower over him too.
Oh, that'd be
She'd
so
be like a
awesome.
foot taller than him.
Oh,
which
yeah.
I
Oh,
want to
she'd
see.
play her.
And
Oh, yeah.
she'd still wear heels because she's a classy lady.
Oh, absolutely.
Totally.
You
I
know.
love that picture. I think it's in the first issue of that She-Hulk comic where you see like a full body shot and she's just standing there like
Yeah.
really huge, but she has like the awesome dress on and like
Holding
the
a
high
briefcase,
heels and holding
yeah.
a briefcase. I love that image so much.
Yeah.
That comic was so good.
But unfortunately, I believe we're coming close to the end of the show.
Oh.
So at this time, we'll go down and...
How have we
guys-
not talked about how Captain America has a contingency plan for the Hulk, but he can't take out... Or not Captain America, Iron Man has a contingency plan for the Hulk, but he can't take out Captain America.
He did it, what was it, Betty?
That's my point, is
Really?
Iron Man's an idiot. I don't like him anymore after this movie. He's just whining. Sorry, I had to get that.
He's like kind of like Batman, but not. So it makes
He's not
sense
as smart
that
as Batman.
he'd try to have contingency plans, but he'd like get drunk halfway through and forget about the rest of them.
Yeah.
But he's not even drunk anymore. He's
I
just
know, right?
this
No demon
guy
in the bottle
who-
yet.
I want to be like. Does
The
he
love
even
will
need
change
to
him,
be
yeah.
in the suits anymore?
Yeah.
Like, does he have to be there? And then why not turn on your automatic fighty thing all the time? Like, I would have started the fight with Captain America with analyze fight anyway. Iron Man.
All right, well, so if people want to continue to hear about Civil War from you, where could people find you and your work?
You probably won't hear me say anything ever again.
I enjoy it.
I don't have anything. Oh no! On July 24th, at the Comedy Store main room.
Sweet.
That's all I have booked right now.
Alrighty. Stefano, where can people find you and your work?
I don't know. You can find me on Facebook and DeviantArt. Okay, DeviantArt. I have a DeviantArt page that's FFNB. F is in Frank, F is in Frank, N is in Nancy, B is in boy. .deviantart.com, but I also have like a Twitter and a Tumblr and all that kind of stuff, and I don't honestly remember any of those links.
Well, that's
However,
good
my
promotion.
name is Stefano Terry, and so you can just type in my name or the Gamma Gals. That would be probably easier. Type in the Gamma Gals, and you should be able to find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, DeviantArt, Tumblr, a lot of stuff. I don't know.
Alrighty.
Yeah, wait, I'll say something real quick because I don't want to get the last word over the ladies. I'm on Twitter also.
Ooh.
At Make Spence. MakeSpence. Okay, now I'm done. Thank you.
Christine?
My webcomic can be found at bountyhunterspacebesties.com. I'm on Twitter. My Twitter handle is at the Hip Chip, 2 P's in hip, 2 P's in chip. And also you can find out more about the Ladybugs at ladybugcomics.org. There are links to all of our social media accounts, and you can find out more about our members and what we're making and how cool we are.
Sweet. Ashley?
I'm also on ladybugcomics.org, so you can find all my stuff, but the easiest way to get a hold of me is probably my Twitter handle, which is Ms. RUBAY, MZRUBAY.
Awesome. And you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Comics on Comics. Also, I would love to announce that we are doing a show at San Diego Comic-Con. Comic-Con will not allow me to announce when and where just yet, but if you've been to the show, you would know where our historic time and place is, and I can almost guarantee that it will be at the same time and place. Thanks guys for coming out. This was awesome. This has been Comics on Comics, the show where the greatest comic minds meet the greatest minds in comics.
How do you not jump on the table? I feel like Patty Duke should come out. Patty Duke should come out and That's what I nerd out on.
KJ?
Y'all got
TV stuff?
That was awesome listening to all y'all. Y'all know so much. It's so cool.
Thanks for having me.
It was,
Oh yeah, no,
So
thank you,
fun.
thank you so much for the short notice. You know, I definitely look forward to picking up a copy of the anthology. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right, Stefano and Spence, thank you for coming out.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.